Good morning. Welcome to our service.
And I say good morning. And my name is Stephen Wolf Foster, and I will be your worship associate. Welcome to the First Religious Society Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. I have the privilege and the joy of serving as your worship associate today. Every Sunday, FRS comes together as a church community, in person and online. We're committed to love, to peace, and to justice. Our core values are authentic connection, courageous action, love, spirituality, and wonder. Our mission and the invitation to all of us is to come as we are, to journey together in love, to act with courage, to transform our world. If you find that you're visiting with us today or joining us for the first time, welcome. We are glad that you are here. If you're joining us online, you'll find a link to the order of service in your reminder email or just below the live stream window. It's such a good thing that we come together. So let's give ourselves to it. Welcome again.
You are faithfully called to worship.
Please join in the chalice lighting words while Aaron lights the chalice. Our special chalice lighting words this morning were written by Cindy Fesgen. They are printed in your order of service. We are all capable in different ways with various strengths and talents. We are all wholly part of the universe and the interdependent web. We light this chalice, cherishing our differences and holding each other in sacredness.
Each week, we also light 2 candles of peace, representing 2 places on earth we lift up and remember as a sacred encounter with our world. There are untold number of places on earth that need peace. These 2 especially hold close in this service and through the week ahead. After each candle is lit, I will say, "To this we respond," inviting you together in saying, "Peace, Sul, Shalom." Our first candle is lit for all people living in countries torn apart by war and violence. Close to 1 billion people live in outright conflict and violence, or with fragile internal systems. It is estimated that 9.7 million people with disabilities are forcibly displaced in war-torn countries or must remain in the conflict zone after others have been evacuated with no support services and subject to conflict-related violence. May these people experience peace and worthy leadership. To this we respond, "Peace, Shalom." Our second candle is lit for Puerto Rico, once again in darkness and without potable water due to torrential rainfall from Hurricane Fiona, causing catastrophic flooding and landslides. This is their worst storm in 5 years, when Hurricane Maria inflicted more damage on the island than any other disaster for them in recent history. May their government find the talent and resources to finally rebuild their antiquated power system. To this we respond, "Peace, Shalom." This morning, we are honored to light a special candle for Reverend Sophia Lyons. This morning, when we light this honor to her, she's being installed as the minister for First Parish in Watertown. FRS sponsored both Reverend Sophia and her husband Jason in their path to Unitarian Universalist ministry. Reverend Rebecca is there this morning, participating and leading the installation service. Please rise in body or spirit and join in for our opening hymn, number 1023, Building Bridges, which is in our teal book. Please remain standing and join in our affirmation of faith and doxology. The words can be found in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
I'm Howard Mandeville of the Chalice Circle Steering Committee, here to give you the nuts and bolts of Chalice Circles and encourage you to register before the October 2nd deadline. A Chalice Circle is a relatively small group, 6 to 8 people, including a trained leader who facilitates and participates fully. Session topics come from an expanding library framed by the ministry themes. A format that places emphasis on deep listening and confidential sharing structures each session, all within a covenant agreed upon by the Circle. In general, circles meet twice a month, October into May. To see specific date and time options or to register, visit the table outside this morning. Or you can look at the special development section of the FRS website, which includes testimonials from past participants, and we have 3 of us here today to share our experiences with you. I'll go first. I'm a past participant in 4 Chalice Circles, the first one led by Sophia Lyons. When I was a newcomer to FRS, a wise elder pointed to a forming Chalice Circle as a path toward belonging and inspiration. That first Chalice Circle was a good match for what I came to FRS looking for. And over time, I continued to sign up for Chalice Circles when the new church year came around again. Lisa?
Good morning. I'm Lisa Johnson. Happy New Year to all our Jewish friends. The sage and religious leader, Rabbi Hillel, is credited with saying, "If I am only for myself, what am I? If I am only for others, who am I?" The what of our lives is the action we take. The who is finding that peace that Reverend Rebecca spoke of last week. My task today is to talk about Chalice Circles. I've been both a member and a leader. The connections I made with my small group still hold me. When I hug Mary, my day is better. When I listen to Bettina sing, I hear the music more deeply. When Anne crosses my path, I remember to vote. It was being in community in the Chalice Circles with these people and others who strengthened my who, though none of those topics that I associate with those people were what we talked about. It was the journey of exploration while being together and truly belonging in that space that nourished me. I enjoyed participating in Chalice Circles very much, but I also learned a great deal and feel stronger in the who I am because of them. If your time and inclination allows, accept the invitation and join.
Good morning. I'm Ray Wilson. I've been in at least 2 chalice circles, maybe 3, and I am here to urge you to consider chalice circles. They are an opportunity to meet and to get to know deeply people that you probably wouldn't otherwise get to know very well at all. There is a covenant for chalice circles where we all promise to respect each other. What happens in chalice circles stays in chalice circles. We talk about the meaning of life. The bi-weekly meetings are structured. We have trained leaders. There is usually a handout that we can print out at home about topics for that meeting. We can talk about the meaning of life and a whole bunch of things. I can't recommend them highly enough. We have until October 2nd to sign up, and I urge you, if your schedule permits, to do exactly that. And now, I invite all of us to sing hymn number 413 and sing the young people to Young Church. Go now in peace.
And so, if I just may offer an unsolicited testimonial about chalice circles, they are awesome. They are awesome. It's what made me really feel welcomed here, and I felt welcomed every time I was with my chalice circle, and I loved welcoming them too. It was wonderful. And the generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of our church, both in Newburyport and beyond. Half of each Sunday's collection, not designated as a pledge, goes to support a local partner working to transform our region. This month's shared collection will support the Jeannie Geiger Crisis Center. Every year, the center helps over 1,200 survivors of domestic violence, both adults and children. In addition to your contribution, please consider participating in the Jeannie Geiger Crisis Center Walk Against Domestic Violence. This will take place on Sunday, October 2nd, from 8 to 11, and you can register for the walk at jeanniegeigercrisiscenter.org. You can join the FRS walking team by contacting Jeff Bard at jeffbard@hotmail.com. If you wish to give online, please use the link in your order of service or the video description. You can also make a contribution via text message, and of course you can always mail a check to the church. The offering will now be gratefully received.
We are blessed by one another. Each Sunday, we take a time to lift up our joys and sorrows as a beloved community. Holly Cashman, our pastoral care associate, will light candles as I read the joys and sorrows that have been shared to me in advance of today's service. If you would like to share a joy or sorrow to be read in the service, you can always send an email to betweenus@frsuu.org. You can also share a joy or sorrow by writing in the book located in the vestibule. We light a candle in loving memory for Betsy Woodman's dear friend, Les Harris Sr., who died on 10 September, remembered with accolades from generations of students and fellow musicians. At 90 years, he never quit teaching until the very end and rightfully earned his legendary status and angel wings. He's upstairs arranging the songs and leading a band. 9 years ago, on 8 September 2013, Betsy and Jonathan Woodman celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary by honoring Les for his widely acclaimed music skills and mentorship. A plaque and award given to the Newburyport Education Foundation in honor of Les was presented during a concert here at our beloved Unitarian Church in Newburyport. The town was invited and the church was filled. The bands, led by Danny Harrington, well-known local baritone saxophone player, included Les Harris Jr. on drums, following in his father's footsteps. During the performance, Les Harris Jr. stepped aside so that his father could take the drums and play with his granddaughter, Les Jr.'s daughter, Aubrey Harris, on stand-up bass. It was electric. That night, 3 generations of Harris's family music was woven into the musical fabric of one of Newburyport's most venerable and historic churches. Chris Plant and I were among Les Harris Sr.'s lucky students. And today we have 5 albums online. Proud that our lineage goes back to this legendary jazz drummer. Please light a candle in celebration and gratitude for Les and his life that was jam-packed with his love for his family, for music, and for his colleagues and friends. Nancy Crocher and her husband Paul share 3 great joys. Their younger daughter, Rebecca, received her PhD in clinical psychology in June and accepted a tenure-track professor position at Williams College in Williamstown, Mass. Becca was also married this summer to Davis Manham on August 13th at Waitsfield, Vermont, and the weather gods blessed us with a gorgeous day. Nancy also shares a personal joy that she has signed a contract with HarperCollins for her debut novel, Graceland, which will be published in May of next year. Diane Stowe Cohn is happy to announce the birth of her second grandchild, Carter Harrison Cohn, born Friday, September 23rd, at 7 pounds. Her son Peter, wife Vanessa, and baby are happy and doing well. The added plus is that they only live 40 miles away. We have a request. I pray my sorrow will morph to joy someday. I ask for prayers and support for all the abused and abandoned animals of the world. Anita. We light one final candle for all of the sorrows and joys which, though unspoken, are held just as much care and love. We call on the spirit of light and love that shines within each of us to give us the strength to walk together into the future, empowered to recognize and celebrate differences as the great gift to the human family, and enabled to be the architects of understanding, love, and respect. Our responsive reading today is an Interfaith Litany for Wholeness by Reverend Kate Chips, which we've adapted. You'll find the words inserted in your order of service, and please all join in with me when we say the response. Let us pray for all God's people, for people who are blind and cannot see, and for those who can see but are blind, to people around them.
Spirit of love, help us touch each other.
For people who move slowly because of accident, illness, or disability. And for those who move too fast to be aware of the world in which they live.
Spirit of love, help us work together.
For people who are deaf and cannot hear, and for those who can hear but who ignore the cries of others.
Spirit of love, help us respond to each other.
For people who learn slowly, for people who learn in different ways, and for people who learn quickly and easily but often choose ignorance.
Spirit of love, help us to grow in your wisdom.
For people who have clinical illness, for people who have a chronic illness for which there is no known cure or relief, and for people who live in unholy fear of developing a chronic illness.
Spirit of love, help us and heal us.
For families, friends, and caregivers who serve people with disabilities, and for those who feel awkward in their presence.
Spirit of love, help us see each other with your eyes.
For people who think they are worthless and beyond your love, and for people who think they don't need your love.
Spirit of love, help us accept your love.
For people who feel isolated by their disability, and for people who contribute to that sense of isolation.
Spirit of love, in your mercy, change our lives.
For all the people in your creation, that we may learn to respect each other and learn how to live together in your peace.
Spirit of love, in your mercy, bind us together. Amen.
Amen.
Welcome. It is so good to be with you in person and online. One Sunday a year is dedicated to our accessibility and inclusion ministry, AIM. AIM is a work in progress that embraces our FRS mission and Unitarian Universalist principles, which are not dogma or doctrine, but serve as a community Unitarian guide that we choose to adhere to. Our first is the FRS mission. It tells us, come as you are. Journey together in love, act with courage, transform our world. My words today draw from our first Unitarian principle and our second. The inherent worth and dignity of every person, and justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. What is AIM? FRS AIM functions with the guidance and support of Reverend Rebecca and in partnership with the UUA. An inclusive ministry such as AIM is not a program. It is not about creating a special class or a separate ministry or even identifying the disabled as an object of ministry. It may be summarized in the motto, ministry by and with people with disabilities, in contrast to ministry for people with disabilities. Purpose of AIM is to welcome, embrace, integrate, and support people with disabilities, both visible and invisible, non-apparent. It is about making room. A brief summary of where we are in AIM. Last year, the focus was on accessibility and inclusion issues identified by FRS members regarding the interior and the exterior church grounds. We have an email list of people who are interested in receiving information and attending our monthly Zoom meetings. We completed a series of accessibility checklists provided by UUA and brought this information to Reverend Rebecca, Rob Authier, Director of Church Operations, and the Parish Board. There's a brief summary of the status of last year's projects available at our AIM table, which is currently to the left of the lift when you exit. Ongoing projects include advertising accessibility to large print orders of service and hymnals, sound amplifying headphones, consistent signage, an adjustment in color and font in the news notes and website. We're working on having reserved parking available on Sunday mornings directly in front of the church for drop-off and pickup, and for those to park who have limited mobility. We have to work with the city of Newburyport. Long-term projects, again, working with the city of Newburyport. They include to add more curb cuts, improve access to current curb cuts, replace the bricks on the city sidewalk, and add more handicap parking spots on Unicorn Street. Future proposed projects: to install automatic door openers on our side vestibule entrance and lower entrance. Also have a large screen TV and necessary electronic equipment to use in the sanctuary for live Zoom meetings, for special occasions, such as guest speakers and congregational meetings. The book, My Body is Not a Prayer Request, Disability Justice in the Church by Amy Kenny, deeply moved me. Amy is a well-published disabled scholar and Shakespearean lecturer. It's a fabulous read that had me laugh and open my mouth and being aghast at the same time. She listed suggestions that were recommended by members of her church community as treatments for her physical disability, such as put garlic in your socks. Try jogging. After a while, your legs will remember how to walk. At least you're only physically disabled. At least you've inspired others. And you're too pretty to be disabled. Followed by God needed a special angel. In the dedication of her book, she writes, "For every disabled person wondering whether you fit in, fretting that you are too much, you with your canes, crutches, chemical sensitivities, and CART, which is a method to provide access to spoken communication for people who are deaf or hard of hearing or have certain cognitive and learning impairments. All of you are worthy of belonging. You are enough." She was interviewed on the Denison University Forum on the topic, "Is the Church ableist?" Church applies to any denomination. She begins by quoting Talila Lewis's definition of ableism: a system that places values on people's bodies and minds based on societally constructed ideas of normality, intelligence, excellence, and productivity. Kenny states, "It is not my inability to walk or stand that disables me. Rather, I am disabled by the fact that buildings are structured with stairs, narrow hallways, and curbs, making them difficult for me to access on wheels." She continues, "By either age or accident, most people will experience some form of disability in their lives. We, the disabled, bear prophetic witness about what is true about the fragile human condition. If only the church would listen to us." Non-apparent disabilities. The impetus for me to pursue the topic of non-apparent disabilities came from a series of seemingly unconnected events. The first occurred when I was measuring threshold accessibility in our FRS doors, specifically the designated handicapped accessible doors. The one on the side to our vestibule meets ADA standards. The door at the lower level to offices, meeting rooms, restrooms, and the lift does not meet the requirements for independent wheelchair use. My thought was, but it's only a ½ inch. I was shocked by my instantaneous, neurotypical, ableist reaction. It's okay for me, so it's okay. We know that thresholds are a boundary separating two distinct places, and here, coming from the outside of the church to be together. I am a person of thresholds, which I can't pass through. I need to sit and pause. I need to notice, identify, ponder, plan, to slow down, to appreciate what is behind us at FRS, our wonderful accomplishments, and to be able to name what I think has to be ahead of us. This was my aha moment, my threshold moment, where my intellect and my intuition collided. I feel very strongly that it's now time for our FRS community to engage in learning about non-apparent disabilities. It is not always a comfortable topic for a variety of reasons, which we'll explore this morning. What are non-apparent disabilities? disabilities such as mental illnesses, learning and attention issues, some physical illnesses, neurodiversity, and many other disabilities that are not apparent. It is estimated that 10% of people in the United States have medical conditions which could be considered non-apparent disabilities, and 96% of those people with chronic medical conditions live with conditions that are not apparent. They do not use a cane or any assistive device and act as though they didn't have a medical condition. Let's look at terminology. Non-apparent disabilities. This is the term I'm using. It means that the disability is not apparent, and it does not imply any negative connotation. It is the terminology that is more accessible within the disability community, whose position is that disability is a strength, and it does not matter what type of disability someone has. We will not use the term invisible disability. For some people with disabilities, this term is offensive. It suggests that the person is not visible, or that you cannot discern that a person has a disability, which is not always true. Many with recognizable physical disabilities also have non-apparent disabilities. This is a topic currently being addressed within the UUA and UUMA. They're offering a series of 6 webinars on what they entitle Neurodivergence for Religious Professionals. Both Reverend Rebecca and I are attending. This series was developed in partnership with the neurodivergent presenters, who are UU ministers, heads of religious formation, and youth groups. I just have to add, I am so proud of our community. We are so far ahead of what's going on in other churches. It's wonderful. We just accept each other as who we are as individuals, but within our beloved community. We not only listen, we act, and we show up. I mean it, you're the best. I was also impacted by the book Disability and the Church by Reverend Lamar Hardwick. By the church, he means all Christian denominations. Reverend Hardwick talked about the importance and duty of a minister's preaching about broadening the borders of the church, about building real community-changing church culture, learning how to do ministry with people with disabilities, not doing ministry for people with disabilities. That's where I am. He states, what seems unthinkable becomes thinkable. Once that realization has emerged, you can either honor it or ignore it, but you can't forget it. What has become known cannot become unknown again. He self-identifies as Black, neurodiverse, and the autism pastor of his Tri-Cities church in Georgia. At age 36, already married, ordained, serving as a pastor, he diagnosed himself as having Asperger's syndrome. This was after the birth of his son, who was tested and diagnosed as having autism. He now understands why for so many years he struggled with interpersonal relationships and social anxiety. His threshold was dramatic. The amount of information that's available on non-apparent disabilities is huge. I will just briefly describe 6 categories. Some experts list 5, some list 7, and give a few examples in each. Mental health conditions. Start with, there are over 200 classified forms of mental illness. We know that these conditions can make it hard to relate to others and may affect everyday functioning. Depression, anxiety disorders, and ADHD. Autoimmune diseases, a gigantic field. I'll just say that there are over 80 different autoimmune diseases with symptoms that range from mild to disabling. Chronic pain and chronic fatigue. Neurological disorders such as cerebral palsy, Alzheimer's, stroke, and now traumatic brain injuries. Intellectual disabilities. Down syndrome is the most well-known. Autism spectrum disorders, still so difficult to categorize. Autism manifests in the first 3 years of life and persists through the entire life. Research suggests it is a neurological and a developmental disorder. The diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome no longer exists as a specific entity, but is considered an autism spectrum disorder. In working with special education needs in schools, this is very important because in order to receive services, you have to justify your diagnosis, and it only comes through the psychiatric manual and diagnoses, and that's where these changes occur. So we in education, we in church settings still have to live and understand what these medical terminologies mean to people. The above conditions just scratch the surface of non-apparent disabilities. Other examples: heart disease, lung disease, hearing loss, multiple chemical sensitivities, cancers, asthma, back injuries, and on. Disclosing details about disabilities or health conditions can be really hard when there's still stigma associated with having a disability in general, and the tendency of the person to feel like they are less productive or a less valuable member of society. I think some men find it harder. I know my own husband did, because they learned that the workplace is no place to show weakness. You know, it's all good. We do what we do, we're productive, we survive. We ask for help, or we don't ask for help. It is all good. How can we be allies to those with non-apparent disabilities? Respect privacy. Do not ask people about their disability or even why they are in need of an accommodation unless they talk to you or disclose it to you first. Many are rightfully uncomfortable sharing their personal medical history or experience. It's safe to assume that if someone has received a certain accommodation, they received it for a reason. But we can never assume what that reason is. It is important not to police people when they use these accommodations, or if they don't choose to. Pay attention. Like any interaction with a stranger, we never know what a person is going through. Be thoughtful about how people interact with you. Especially pay attention to your language. Erase crazy, insane, blind, deaf, stupid, bipolar, retarded, and phrases such, "They're off their meds," "I could kill myself," or "They're on the spectrum." Our words can be hurtful and triggering. Be a friend first. Chances are we all know, live with, someone who is living with a chronic condition or disability. We, as people in their periphery, do not have a job to diagnose them, cure them, or fix them. That's why Amy Kenny's book was so powerful. All the platitudes and all the suggestions. At FRS, let the dialogue begin. We can create information sessions, quiet, private space for groups who have self-disclosed social anxiety to meet, a scent-free zone, a space to watch the service in church but at the lower level. There is evidence that going to church and that religion, religious training, spirituality, faith, prayer, and church-based social interactions and support are associated with reduced anxiety. And in many instances, depression is helped as well. When I feel anxious and nervous, I can't stop thinking about my worry or my problem, and then I feel like I'm a failure, and I do get depressed about it. I've had periods when I can't break out of that cycle, but after much inner work and friends and family encouragement, I sought medical, mental health support, and medication with very good results. Remember the words of John O'Donohue. One of the most beautiful gifts in the world is the gift of encouragement. When someone encourages you, that person helps you over a threshold you might otherwise have never crossed on your own. A few more final suggestions. Find commonalities before you think about differences. Don't assume that a person sees their disability as a tragedy. If you suspect eye contact is causing discomfort, don't insist. Ask if assistance is needed before providing it. I'm not good at this. I'm working on it. Never underestimate the ability and talents of a person with a disability. Always address the person, not their caregiver, and do not touch their mobility devices. Finally, forgive yourself and any mistakes you've made in social interactions. You've made a mistake, but look at what you've learned from it. It's hard. I still think of my first year of teaching at the Cotting School, when we still taught students to diagram sentences. I told a student to go to the blackboard and write the subject and predicate. But he was a little person, a midget. And without thinking, I said, just drag up a chair and stand on it so you can reach it. And he did. That was 55 years ago, and I'm still trying to forgive myself. To this end, one of my mantras is this blessing by John O'Donohue. May I live this day compassionate of heart, clear in word, gracious in awareness, courageous in thought, generous in love. May you live this day with compassion of heart, clearness of words, gracious in your awareness, courageous in your thought, and generous in love. And we, as our beloved FRS community, may we live this day compassionate of heart, clear in word, gracious in awareness, courageous in thought, and generous in love. That's all there is. Our hymn for the closing is number 346. Come sing a song with me.
Come
please remain standing and join together in saying our unison benediction as Stephen Wolfe extinguishes the chalice. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always. Our final blessing today is entitled, "And Now We May Go Forth." This was written by our beloved minister emeritus, Reverend Harold Babcock, who was a great advocate of inclusion and accessibility. And now we may go forth in the certainty of faith, in the knowledge of love, and in the vision of hope. And in going may we be blessed with all good things on this day and forevermore. Amen. Go in peace.